Sinister Grace has been a chapter I've been eagerly awaiting. With the Creusot looking amazing and V coming with interesting perks, I was very excited for Dead by Daylight's yearly original chapter. But I'm going to be completely transparent when I say this, I think this chapter has kind of fallen flat. Although there were good changes like seeing hook states as killer, so that I can be reminded that I got 3 hooks after every gen was completed, or how generators glow now, so maybe Larry's won't be so annoying anymore. But I don't want to touch on the minimal changes in this video. This video will primarily be about Michael and Creusot. I will not touch on any perk changes either, even though 66% Vigil is very absurd. So, without further ado, this is my video on the Sinister Grace chapter. Michael is someone I'm going to touch on very lightly here. Michael has needed a rework since he was created, a killer who couldn't keep up with the roster ever since inception. So when I heard he was getting rework, it made me very excited. And I'll be honest, I still don't know what to think about him at the moment. He's definitely stronger. I mean, Pursuer mode is useful for survivors who will avoid being stalked, like, at all costs, and the new Evil Incarnate is fine. I mean, being able to activate it at any time you want is pretty nice. The stock changes feel nice as well. It's nice to have, so little stock required for making, this Evil Within trigger, or not Evil Within, Evil Incarnate. Is it Evil Incarnate or is it Evil Within? I forgot. I don't know and I don't care. So, I mean, Slaughtering Strike, the new ability that they gave Michael, feels nice, but I still don't really know what to think about it. Is it an anti-loop tool? Is it a resource destroyer? Is it just to make you look cool? It isn't really a dash like much people were thinking, and it's more of like an extended lunge, so you aren't really being a dash killer. You're not going to rival Blight with your Slaughtering Strike, which I guess is nice. It's nice that he's still sort of like this, but I will say that in Stalker mode, one of his main big issues is that he moves at 4.2, which is slower than Huntress. So the only change I'd really make to Myers in this state is to change his Stalker mode speed to 4.4, which would be the same as Huntress. That would be very nice. It would allow you to navigate the map faster and be able to actually, get to someone before the first gen pops, which would be nice. But overall, new Myers is a win, I'd say, and there's not really much to complain about in my opinion. But the Creusot, on the other hand, oh man, I'm going to be completely honest with you, they created Kaneki 2.0. I don't even think it's much of a stretch to say that she's even top 5 or top 3. Her kit is completely busted. There are a few problem areas. Her infection leech is incredibly easy to apply to survivors, and survivors have a hard time getting it off due to the amount of time it takes to go down whenever you eat a mushroom. It's essentially impossible to not be leeched for half of the match, even if you did eat one of the mushrooms. If the killer just gets near you, next time she'll just regurgitate on you, and you'll be sent back to square one. This isn't the only issue, because Leech allows Creusot to actually swap to her head form. Her head form is much stronger than her normal body form, despite being slower. The Creusot can now hit you and injure you in head form if she has gotten the infection onto you. Because if the infection isn't there, Creusot just ends up applying a tiny bit of it, and you have to be at least like 1 full level for her to injure. But if she's got the infection fully applied, you're kind of just, it's not going to be fun. The Creusot's head form is in third person, and it's much better than the other third person killers, Dracula's wolf form and Chucky, because you can essentially see over most loops and ignore mind games if you really wanted to because of how tall you are. How much you can see is actually wild, and it makes for things where essentially a lot of saves just become impossible because you can just see everything. You can't really do much with your basic attack in head form because it's quite like a lunge. It's a bit strange. Well, I would say that it's mainly because, it's to try and make it feel a bit more stilted, which is fair enough. But my issue with it is that it feels very clunky. It's like a weird straight lunge, and it just freezes your inputs for a bit. That might just be me, obviously, but maybe on PC it's better, but I play on controller because I'm an idiot. But essentially, this lunge, it's very good at outplaying windows. And so basically it means that anytime there's a window about, Creusot can essentially just reach you whenever she wants that window. But at least, and I mean at least, pallets can't be broken by her in head form, right? No, she can just vault them instead. And vaulting them means that she can essentially just deny Shack, which is one of the strongest loops in the game. And if your Creusot decide to bring Bamboozle, then you have no windows at all. and you might be forced to use a palette that's unsafe, and it's so completely insane. Like, this killer is wild. Her only weakness is the fact that she just can't be looped. Now you would say, oh, what about holding W? Well, she could use this flight ability, which just makes her zoom across the map, and this also means that any notification that happens, she can just immediately go to it. It's actually insane. It's not great. This is a very, very big problem, and it kind of makes her one of the most strongest killers in the game. Now, I do have some suggestions for nerfs. Obviously, I'm not a person who balances stuff, so take this all with a bit of like a grain of salt, or not even a grain of salt, just like, I'm not smart. This is all things that I think would just make the killer a bit better. So, first of all, make the mushrooms instantly cleanse at least one leech state, which would make it able to use mid-chase, and could also help break away from the Krasu's head form. So if you wanted to force Krasu out of the head form for a bit, if you're in like a strong area where you could avoid the projectile more, then you can try and do that, because the only other option that you'd have at the end of the day is just the M1. This would be a very good nerf on its own, but I don't think it would be enough. The flight should have a bit more of a longer end time, so that it takes a bit longer for her to go to normal and like be able to hit people and whatever. So it means that survivors have a bigger area of time to get away or get to one loop, which would be nice. And I think finally, just make her pallet vault much slower, or even just remove it, making it so that the ability to not break pallets in head form is much more of a con rather than a pro. And also maybe make her lunge a bit more telegraphed. It's kind of hard to tell, I feel like, sometimes whenever it starts to happen, and being able to dodge it would be nice, I think. It would also mean that like windows would be much more harder for her to play and whatever. That one's one that I'm a bit on the fence about. I think that it would be a nice nerf for quality of life for looping, but at the same time it would kind of ruin the point to head form. So I'd say maybe ditch that one. I'm not smart, like I said. But finally, make the transformation less sluggish, because the transformation feels absolutely horrible. It doesn't really feel like I can do it on the fly, and it just means that essentially I have to commit to either being in body form until, I get regurgitate landed, go into head form, just chase for the entirety of head form, because it's just so slow that there's essentially no point into switching like mid-chase, unless you are landing the status effect and then switching to head form. She is very, very fun right now, I'd say, but she feels incredibly powerful, and I don't think that she should be powerful. I think that she should be more fun, though. I think that every killer should be fun. Maybe it's too early to tell most things for right now, and I'll definitely wait for any kind of way to truly develop, but she's definitely either a high A tier or a high S tier. That's about it, though, for my thoughts on this chapter. I don't really have much to say in regards to V or any other survivor changes. Same with the new killer perks. I think that they're just kind of nah, and that's it. And I do hope that you enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit short, but if you did enjoy this, like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. I'd very much appreciate it. But thanks for listening to this, I guess. Thank you. Goodbye.